Good evening and welcome to another webinar from Darwin Innovation Hub. I'm Dante St. James, and tonight we'll be looking very quickly, and as we do on these Monday nights, very quickly at a really cool piece of software based in ChatGPT. This is not really a new piece of software at all. Really, all we're doing is creating images within ChatGPT. Now, while that is been around forever using DALI 3, and there's many other image creation AIs that do this, what we'll be doing tonight is specifically looking at this one that does this. So what does that all look like? Well, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get that underway. So just hold on one second as I share this screen. So I'm using multiple systems at the same time to stream live through Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, as well as through Zoom. So let's get that screen shared and we'll get it underway. And we're off and racing. So here you can see the regular ChatGPT interface. There's nothing new here, nothing specific that's very new or very impressive about this. Now, you will note that I've got the Pro version. It shows it up on the top here. That's the very expensive version of ChatGPT. This system that I'm about to show you works on the free version of ChatGPT to a limited degree. You can't just do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of images. And it does elsewhere in the cheaper version of ChatGPT, the $20 US per month or whatever that is in Australian dollars, probably about $150, the way that the Australian dollar is performing right now. So what we do is try to bring the idea of image creation into a tool that doesn't require you to be an artist, a graphic designer, although it's not going to get you all the way. In fact, I like to think of this as a way of getting about 80% of the way. So I've actually done a few of these before. I got some ready because it does take a little bit of time. So I'm going to just start off with, if you want to access this, it has to be running in the ChatGPT 4.0 model. So if you're currently working in the 4.5 in the paid versions, you'll have to roll on back to 4.0. The O1 or O3 mini, any of those won't work with this. It has to be the 4.0 model. And you can go over here to the three dots and you can select create image. Now you don't have to select that. You can just say create image, but this then puts it in a mode to create an image. So I can say, create me a photo of a poodle wearing a hat while being walked through Paris. So that's going to go away then and start to create that image in the same way that it always did with ChatGPT with DALI 3. The difference is that ChatGPT or OpenAI has released a very different version of this now. So it takes a little while to get going. So I'm going to pop into some of the other ones. You see it starts to render it and it can be a little painfully slow. Today I had a lot of trouble getting through, but I've done a few others here. So the first one I did was one about creating image of a plumber in the Northern Territory working on an outdoor project laying PVC pipe in the morning sun. At the top of the image is the word hiring now superimposed over the sky. The head of the plumber is laid above some parts of the text, and it just nailed it. Now, I'm not a plumber, so I would have no idea whether the plumbing's correct, incorrect, or whatever. It's just done a pretty good idea of that. But what I wanted to do is, if I was going to use this as a post on LinkedIn or Facebook or even Instagram, what I might want to do is add in a logo, just to brand who it's from. So I loaded up this logo I found on the internet. And I said, place this logo at the bottom right-hand corner of this image. So it's taken this logo, and it then created that. Now, what it did, it made it downloadable. So I'll have to go and actually find that because it's been playing up all day, this thing. It doesn't always do the right thing. So it's got, okay, it did the job. It downloaded it. And if I can bring it up, I might be able to share it on the screen for you. I'll show you what that actually looked like. But it did a really good job of doing it. And in fact, I did it with a logo and I added extra things such as not just adding the logo, but also adding removing the white background and then also putting a drop shadow in there as well. So I just have to share the right part of the screen. So let me just quickly share the correct part of the screen for you. Said I'm using multiple streams here, so it's a little bit scary to try and get it all to work. So I get an entire screen go this one. And you'll see that in the live stream now. I'll just change that over in Zoom so my Zoomers can see it as well. Any moment now. And there we go. So you can see it's now added a logo down there. So I'll just click on there and make that a bit bigger for you so you can actually see it. It's a little bit faded there and pixelated, but you can see it's actually removed the white background from the logo, and it's created a drop shadow as well, which is one of the instructions I put in there. So it's created a bit more of an ad now. So as you see, I went through the process, remove the white background on the logo, place a drop shadow underneath it, and it then loaded that through. So I went through a process, and that's one of the things that I guess that is very new about doing edit with images. You can actually create iterations of that image. So, like for instance, I could take this guy and literally now say, change the color of his shirt to pink. So it's still gonna be high vis, it's gonna be pink, and it's gonna go there and now try to create that. It's gonna pop out to our poodle now. So these things are slow, they do take a while. There's our poodle in a hat being walked through the streets of Paris. So again, nothing of this is particularly new or sensational, revolutionary. What is though is the ability to do what I just did with our plumber, right? I took our plumber and I've decided I'm going to add more to it. So it's analyzing that image. It's saying, okay, going to change it to the color of pink. It's going to download it again. Gosh, this is killing. This is killing me with this. So it's downloading it. Going to pick it up. Let's see what it looks like. Plumber with hiring with pink shorts. It says shorts. I said shirt, not shorts. Here we go. So it did nothing. So what it did, it changed pink in there. So this thing doesn't get everything perfect every time, but it does do some very impressive things that it actually hasn't been able to do before. So let's pop on back again into my examples. This one, I took a photo of my friends from the company Entex. So you can see there, Jerry and Eileen and a few of the staff there. As I turned this group photo into a pencil sketch with shading and fine detail. And it came up with this. Looks pretty impressive. I thought it did a really good job of that. And that's something which I go, yep, that nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. But I wanted more. So I said, I now wanted to add this logo to the sketch as if it's embedded into the tabletop in the same sketch style. This is what I mean by the iteration. You can add more details to it. And it did this. So it added a bit more detail around some of the faces, but also embedded the logo into the tabletop. So you're starting now to create graphics without you having to do the creation of the graphics. You're just using plain English to say that. Add this logo to the image as if it's embedded into the tabletop in the same sketch style. I haven't used special language there. I just explained it the way that I would think that I would explain that to a person. And it went off and did that. So this is the big difference in this new version of ChatGPT 4.0 that allows you to do these things. Now, this will not replace graphic designers, trust me, because none of this is perfect. And pretty much, I think you're starting to see on social media the result of all this. Like all these people posting cartoon characters of themselves. It's like one of those silly apps that we saw last year where everything was just playing these people creating themselves into Vikings and into Mughal warriors and all that kind of thing. So one thing that I found really, really impressive is creating a logo. So I decided I wanted to create a cartoon logo of me. So I gave it a photo of me. I then create the image. I want a logo of a cartoon character of this person drawn in the style of Popeye, leaning through a circle with the words "No BS Marketing" at the bottom of the circle. And it did a pretty good idea. It actually showed that I have tattoos. It put me in the same shirt, which is a Tommy Hilfiger polo. See, you can see I'm wearing that. It did the same thing. I'm bald and bearded, obviously, and a little bit chunky. So it's captured that. But I was saying, well, I want to do a bit more with that. What I want to do, I want to make the circle black and the writing in bright yellow. So I wanted to change around. So instead of that writing in white and the circle being in that red, I changed that to black with the bright yellow. And it nailed it. It got that right. So I've created there a logo for myself. But I thought, well, if I'm going to use this logo on something, I probably don't want this sort of light bone fawn colored background. I want it to be transparent so I can superimpose it on anything I like. So I said, make the background transparent. And it did. It's now made that a transparent background PNG image. So when I download this, I can use it in a Canva graphic or anything like that. I just now created that. That whole process there took me about 4 minutes because I was waiting for it to draw these images. Now, if you're telling it to take a photo and turn it into a cartoon, it is quicker than taking a photo and creating another photo. So photorealism does take longer than drawing does. But that's in the style of Popeye. People have been doing it in the style of Studio Ghibli all week. It's been this thing. If you've ever seen the movies Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, they're all Japanese animation, very sweet, beautiful, visually rich stories. And that style has kind of been hijacked by people creating these memes all right through. So I decided not to do a Ghibli because I thought that was like done to death this week. Now, another example, I've got a friend over in New Zealand called Stan Henry. So Stanley is the boss of a company called the Attention Seeker. They make a lot of videos. So I took this image from his LinkedIn and I said, place 4 key learnings from the text below, which was what he wrote on his post that accompanied that image. And I wanted to superimpose those words. So I copied and pasted in all the words from that post, and this is what it punched out for me. So not perfect, not bad. And it certainly isn't him anymore. And that's one thing it won't do. It's not programmed to recreate you exactly as you. It's going to take pieces of you and create a new version of what some of the things of you are. So this is where creating the cartoons, the Studio Ghibli characters and Popeye characters and Archie characters and any sort of cartoons or comics you can think of really works well, but it doesn't work so well when you're trying to recreate a photorealistic image. So it's created a brand new person with a lot of the same features as Stan, and then some of those big words. Now, like, well, I think it can do better. Let's go change the first line of text to get uncomfortable and change the last line to 100x conversions because it went kind of under there and feel out of place. Well, that wasn't really a learning. You don't want to feel out of place, but maybe getting comfortable being uncomfortable, that could work. So it then did it. It's now further updated Stan's face to it, yet another person, and it's got it a bit better. It's just not quite even. There's no even gaps there. So I got to tell it, center align all the text and ensure an even space from both sides on each line. You can make the text bigger or smaller if needed. Then place a drop shadow under each letter and reduce the opacity of the text to 75%. I'm doing a lot of things here. I'm asking it to do a lot of stuff. So it came out with this. And it did the opacity right, but it's also then faded the background completely kicked out the guy that was sitting to the left of Stan, and it's now changed the words. So this is where it's starting to get a bit weird, and it starts to do that hallucination thing that AI tends to do. So the more changes I'm making to this, the worse it's getting. So what I would normally say you would do, download the version that you want to change. Say it's this one. You download that and re-upload that into a new one. So I'd say, let's go and create a new chat. I'm going to upload that image because this is how I put these images and you upload them. So I'm going to upload that image I just downloaded. And I'm going to say, replace all these words with get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Change that to comfortable with being uncomfortable is the quote. And then boom, I'm going to ask it to do that. So it's going to take that, remove all that text, and now replace it with those new words I wanted to say. So I'm going to go pop down to my Stan Henry example again. So down here, I finally iterated to the point where I did this, and it actually spelled words wrong because I spelled them wrong. So here I said, replace the text of get uncomfortable in pink at the bottom of the image. Background image should be vibrant. The text is yellow. So I've actually said get uncomfortable in pink. And then I said the text is yellow. So I've actually played around and I'm making it get confused and presented 80% opacity. So it did that. The 80% opacity is pretty much there. It spelled everything right. It did the yellow. It didn't do the pink, thankfully. And then I said, use rubric distressed font. Now, this is something you can do is you can start to specify what font you want to use. I looked through Google Fonts. I went to Google Fonts and I asked it for a bunch of fonts. I went, okay, let's go here. I wanted to look for distressed fonts. So just for distressed. So there's rubric distress, and that's the font I wanted, this one here. So it then has taken that and created a version of that with that kind of font, a distressed font. So it's done exactly what I asked it to do. And now I can credit this quote to Stanley Henry from the Attention Seeker 2025, and that created that final image. It's taken the other person out. It's kind of refined this person. It still doesn't look anything like Stan, but wearing the same clothes, and it's spelled uncomfortable completely wrong after spelling it completely right there. So as I said, it will start to do weird things, but the way to get around that is you take the one that you want to do and you say this one, and then you reload it up and tell it in a new chat to do something with that picture rather than continually iterating. Iterate for a bit. When it starts to get weird, download it, start a new chat, and then go again. As you'll see with this one here, hopefully it's loaded up. There we go. So it's downloaded that, created a brand new version of Stan, maintained the person over on the left of him, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is kind of where I wrote it, right? I wrote it with those capitals and with those lower cases. So it actually nailed that. And it just did it in a very average kind of font. I could then change that to change the font to Times. I actually could change it to Merriweather. That seems like one of my favorite fonts at the moment. So change the font to Merriweather. It'll now go and do that and change that font to the Merriweather font. It's just going to take about 30 seconds or so to drive that up. So while we're waiting for that to come together, I'm going to take you to another example, which is one of the more impressive things that it can do, which really surprised me, which is taking text and turning it into visualized ideas of that text. So I started with turn the following process into a flow chart using a color palette of blues, purples, and pinks. And then I copied and pasted a bunch of words from a app that I deleted from my Mac earlier in the day. And this was the instructions online that I found for it because it wasn't immediately obvious. So I wanted to create a process in a flow chart of those instructions that I found online. So that's pretty full on. So I go, well, here's what it punched out first. That's pretty good. Like, I'm pretty happy with that. It followed that you actually got the steps correct, but it's just done a weird thing down the bottom here. So I've just said, well, insert the Crisp AI logo at the bottom left of the diagram and ensure the flowchart ends at empty the trash. So let's see what it did. So it's really done it again. It's actually fixed up a lot of this and then did a weird thing with this side, but it did insert that Crisp AI logo, which is correct. That is their logo. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. Let's keep going. Put an image copyright credit of 2025 to Dante St. James in small text at the bottom right. So I've now created a little thing with, and it's redone the entire flow chart and it's actually fixed it. It's actually pointed everything through to empty the trash correctly, even though enter password if prompted will then enter into a new process. So it's kind of got a little confused there, but it did enter my little copyright 2025 to my name. So I've created then a flowchart that essentially is a representation of all that text that I copied in. So this is where it does get a little bit more impressive. Now I'm just going to pop back up to our earlier example, our new chat where we were creating that, change the font to Merriweather, and it did that. How good is that? And it's actually gone and fixed up the fact that I capitalized comfortable but didn't capitalize any of the others, and it spelled it all correctly. So it's actually done a really good job. It's also taken Stan and changed his face again. So this is a completely unrelated person now. Now it's also a little bit uncanny valley. Like this guy is not, that skin is a little too smooth. Those fingers are a little too perfect. So it's not really quite the original, but it gives you an idea that we're now embedding images with an overlaying text, which is something that just OpenAI could not do before. And now it seems to be able to. Another example, overlaid text would be the one I did. I took a photo from online of, Catherine Gorge, and I put, place the words room to breathe in the sky using the Alex Brush font at the top of the font, title slightly towards the viewer in white text at 85% opacity. So I did that. It hasn't done the tilting, but what it did do is place exactly that in exactly the font I asked for, in the place I asked it to place it. But I want it to be a bit thicker. So I want the font to be more bold, give it a drop shadow, and add the following text at the bottom of the image in Helvetica font, visit catherine.com.au. So it's taken a 16:9 image and it's kind of gone, oh, I'm going to create you a different image altogether. So still the same scene, little bit changed, like the fences are a little bit weird. They've changed those a little bit, but it's pretty much the same. Like that's very, very similar. And it's then created visit catherine.com.au at the bottom. So we're starting to see the breaking down, and this is the first generation of this. Right, this has just been released, like literally a few days ago. And what we're starting to see is this is already potentially taking over things like Canva, where Canva is really the sort of the king and the queen of this kind of thing. This might be actually doing a better job because I can then take this and do other things with it. Now, I can't download this as a layered image and be able to move things around. But what it's teaching us to do is to instruct these tools to do things via text rather than, or you could perhaps like, yeah, I could put those into voice mode. So I can say, for instance, allow my microphone. Change this scene to install a picture of a robot in the scene. That's probably not going to work because I haven't really done that before. But yeah, DALI P3, a picture of a robot in the scene. So I can retry that, and what it will do, it'll start to create a photo in the scene. Now, see how it's created DALI? That's not what I want. That's the old image processor, so not the new one. So there's little things that are going to get a bit weird, and it's just going to start to make this is probably going to make a god awful mess of it, and that's fine. What I want to show you next, though, is a very real product from someone I know. And I hope she doesn't think this is a terrible thing I've done to her product. But what I've done is use it as an example of how you can take a product photo from a website and turn it into other things. Place this product in a vanity cupboard with a woman's hand reaching for it. Pretty simple. Boom. Now, it has messed with the logo slightly and it's having trouble reading those, but that's only because I took a very low resolution image that couldn't really see all the details of. So if I had taken a really big image, it would have got a lot more of that. Now, I don't know whether that is proportional because I haven't seen this bubble bath, this container. So it's probably not proportional, but it gives you the idea of what it does. Now I want to say place the product on red dirt like you would find in Alice Springs and scatter a few gum nuts and gum leaves around it without taking the focus away from the product. Very specific instructions, and it nailed it. Look at that. It's created that same product, slightly different logo again that it's created. It's got the words right though, and a few gum nuts and some gum leaves on the red dirt, but not taking the focus away from the actual product. So again, it really did nail that. I wanted more though. I want to place this product on a supermarket shelf with 4 of it facing forwards and other products around it that are slightly blurred out so you can't read their labels. Only this product can be clearly seen. And there we go. Supermarket shelf. So it's also like really messing with that logo now. The more changes I do, the less it's going to be obvious. So what I could do, for instance, is I'd say right at the top, here's the original photo. Keep downloading and uploading that one back up again. So as we go down there, I started to add more things. I said, okay, add the word now available in stores at the bottom of the image and a font matching the word yaya in the image. So it's done kind of that. It's really matched the Berrigan word, but that's the bubble bath word. That's pretty good. Looks really nice. Then use a matching font for following the text at the top of the image, the essence of the red center. And it did this. I think the actual end product was so much nicer and it actually got the logo more correct. It got way closer to what the logo originally was. It's done the gum nuts, it's on the red dirt, the essence of the red center, now available in stores. It just did a beautiful job of that. So now even product photos are possibly in danger as well because AI is now able to approximate that. Let's go back to our chat where we were playing around with yeah, we've played around with that one. We had the Catherine Gorge one. So let's see what the final result was that of putting a robot in there. It actually did a really good job. There's a robot. Took the people out, placed a robot, made that really thick font, but it actually looks better. And there you go. There's a robot visiting Catherine Gorge. Now it's obviously messed with the landscape. Like that's taken a chunk of landscape out of there and replaced it with a big ditch. So it hasn't really preserved that original image very well. So you've got to be careful of that. If you're dealing with landscapes, they need to be generic ones. Otherwise, if you're referring to very specific places, someone's going to look at that and go, wait, that's not Catherine Gorge. And they'd be right. It's not. Another little bit of fun I had in here, considering there's an election coming. Impose the words "zero trust" in Bebas new font with orange ochre color and a small white hazy glow around the letters. And I came up with that. So yeah, you can take that whichever way you want. You can create your political posters if you wish. It's now making it able to be done. That took about 30 seconds to do. Now it's taken that image and kind of messed with what it did. Like the coat of arms in the Northern Territory is not perfect there. The features in the building are not exact, but they're very damn close, right? Then I tried to take an image here And I'm asking it to change the price on this image to $9 each. And it actually said, no, can't do it. It requests violates our content policies. And there's reasons here. Number one, children. It don't mess with children. Other thing is, it doesn't want to create something fraudulent that's obviously fraudulent by replacing a price. So that's something to bear in mind. I also struck a bit of a problem with this. I took a photo of a Nespresso machine, placed a Lavazza logo in an etched style on this glass. So I did. It looked great. That looks really, really convincing, really, really good. And then it added another one down the bottom. It's like, no, I didn't want that on there. I wanted it on the glass. So I said they took this as being glass. So I said, remove the logo from the bottom of the image and replace with the text Authentico in Times New Roman font. So I'm creating a bit of an ad, but it doesn't want you to be able to remove logos from products that already have a logo attached to them. You can add a logo, but it doesn't like you being able to remove logos because it's kind of thinking you're going to add another logo in there. So it actually said, no, I can't do that. Violates our content policies. So you've got to be really careful with that. I then played with someone else's graphics. So someone who I follow on LinkedIn. And she had a little bit of a graphic there with a photo of herself in there. And I said, change the text to the following. You can't trust anything you read on the internet these days. Attribute the quote to Dame Nellie Melba. So it did. It took the same font as what Tanya had in there, but it's kind of just pushed everything over the side. And of course, it's changed Tanya quite a lot. So you can see very similar necklace, very similar looking person, but not the same. So they will fit all the text within the boundaries of the image and make the attribution 1/3 the size of the main text, which it went and kind of did, but it's just not even, right? And it's starting to get a bit weird on the text. So I'm going, okay, and it's also getting a bit weird on her face and completely changed her necklace. So when it's sure at least 20 pixels of space between the text and the edge, and it's getting better, but just not perfect. So I said, make the text smaller in Merriweather font, and then it's fixed up the text and place it better. Now I can't move that around. Now I can say, bump that the text up by 100 pixels, maybe. But I've now also got almost recreated her necklace, but it's completely changed that person. Again, if I wanted the original person, what I would do is I'd download the original photo, and it would at least would have something that's kind of close to her. But in this case, completely different person. I then had a bit more fun with my Balenciaga campaign idea. I said, well, I wanted to place this guy in a Balenciaga fashion campaign, which it did. It took me, put me in a Balenciaga ad with some Balenciaga style clothing. I then said, use the same character as a model holding a white Yeti coffee cup. The focus is on the cup. Now, I had a bit of trouble with that. He said, I'm having I'm just not, it was breaking down, basically. It was just not coping. So I said, well, use the same character as a model holding the Yeti coffee cup. Focus on the cup as a product being sold. Include a Yeti logo at the bottom left and superimpose text heavy duty for the office. Unfortunately, it wasn't happy to do that because it just was struggling with too many requests. I said, try again, and it did, and it got it. There you go. And a Yeti logo in the bottom left, as I asked for it. It's a Yeti coffee cup. It's the same guy. It's basically a representation of me, pretty close too. Heavy duty for the office. And it's even used the heavy duty font in there just to fit that theme. So it can do some pretty good things. Now, you will need to fiddle. There are some tricks to it. Eventually, this will be pretty flawless, but it's getting pretty darn close already. So you can, use your own photos. What I would do is use a very clear photo of yourself, preferably with nothing around you, so that you can get the best out of this. But ultimately, any photo will do. You can pull photos off the internet, pull photos of you from your camera and load those in. Just click the plus, upload from your computer, and then tell it what you want to do with that image. Now, again, this isn't completely new. You've been able to do things like this with other tools. I know Midjourney does it. Some of the other tools have been able to do it. I know Canva can do it to a degree. It's one of the worst AIs that's out there. But this is pretty scary stuff. But what it does, though, it allows you to get sort of 80% of the way there. So what I would use this for naturally is to go, take this image, give it to your graphic designer or to your marketing people. Say, this is kind of what I'm looking for, but don't make it so creepily weird looking. Use a real model so you can cut that time down. What you can do is ideate ideas, so you can brainstorm ideas. If you're putting together a quick little ad, for hiring plumbers, you may want to take a picture of a real plumber doing real work and then ask it to put that superimposed text over the top of it. Now, it's not going to preserve the face exactly. It's going to create a version of that that's an approximation, as it's done with this guy over the generations that I did. Started off with him, and it's kind of kept the same kind of guy, but it did change him slightly. So that's what the new ChatGPT system is doing. It's helping you to essentially, I suppose, allowing you to create new graphics, yes, to uh, maybe try and you know, create some graphics that you could edit. You can add some things to. You can add some text, but there's limits to it. You can't take away the text. You still are kind of stuck doing some of those things that you probably didn't think you would want to do, like things where you'd want to just go, I don't want to have that text. So I don't want to have text at all. I just want to recreate me in different scenes. It's not quite there yet. There are tools that will do that. I use a thing called Replicate, which is a server full of lots of different versions that allow you to do that kind of thing. And it's bit hit and miss, but it does create really good cartoons and really good character sort of stuff. So the technology is getting better. The best news about this one is you can have a play with it for free. And if you start to create things that you really think could be of use to you, well, then you can always pay the $22 a month US to get that going, or be an idiot like me and pay $320 a month. God, I better get my money's worth out of it. Thank you for joining me tonight. Hope you really got something out of that and you've learned something new. Otherwise, please have a great evening.